Would you look at that? You put an ace on the mound, and the D-backs look like a completely different team as they hand the New York Yankees their first loss of the season.
You are Locked On Diamondbacks, your daily Arizona Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You're listening to who? The always charismatic host of this podcast, Millard Thomas. On today's podcast, we will be talking about the D-backs' big bounce back in Game 2 against the New York Yankees, how to attack Carlos Rodon in Game 3, and we'll even highlight and discuss some of the numbers in the Corbin Carroll struggles to start the year. But before we get into the podcast, thank you for making Locked On Diamondbacks your first listen every day. I would not be able to do this podcast without you, my loyal listeners, sharing, subscribing, reviewing, doing all that so I could do this podcast for you. Thank you. It's free. It's available on all platforms, so please continue to tell your friends. One of those platforms is YouTube, so please hit subscribe to Locked On Diamondbacks on YouTube. We are trying to hit not 1,000 subscribers. We are trying to hit 2,000 subscribers by the All-Star break because you guys were so amazing and got me to 1,000 by opening day. Now the new goal is 2,000 by the All-Star break. So please hit subscribe to Locked On Diamondbacks on YouTube. But now let's talk about that Game 2 performance against the New York Yankees, because when you put an ace pitcher on the mound like Zac Gallen, you get different results, because in Game 1, Yankee fans were probably still riding high. You come off the sweep of the Houston Astros, which I'll give you, very impressive. Then you go against Game 1. You enter Game 1 against the D-backs, who are also riding their own high, but they were playing the Colorado Rockies, right? So you're like, how serious could we take that early hot start to the season for the D-backs? Really? The Yankees come out, they take down the Arizona Diamondbacks, and they kind of try to, big man the D-backs a little bit, show off that chest hair a little bit, and show the D-backs, you know what? It's cool that you can do that against the Colorado Rockies, but you can't do it against the Bronx Bombers, us, the New York Yankees. Little did they know, you weren't going to get Ryan Nelson again in Game 2. You are going to get the ace Zac Gallen, the New Jersey native, and he showed the Yankees why New Jersey is better, because he went out there and absolutely dominated the Yankees. 6 innings, 3 hits, no earned runs, 6 strikeouts, 3 walks. Zac Gallen, the last couple years against the New York Yankees, that has been a favorable matchup for him, because last year also 6 innings, no earned runs, 8 strikeouts. So the last 2 years, Zac Gallen has been really good against his Yankees team. I wonder if he has any personal rivalry as the New Jersey guy, if he either rooted for the Yankees or rooted against the Yankees growing up. That's a fun question that I would love to ask Zac Gallen, but he looked really good in this game. There was some concerning stuff with Zac Gallen. His velo, when you look at that, kind of down this year, kind of by a lot. It was down 1.5 miles this game from where it was like all of last year. His knuckle curve, his slider, like the velo on all his pitches were kind of down. It's one of the reasons why he wasn't able to generate a lot of whiffs. Like on 36 swings, he only generated 4 whiffs, which is not really typical Zac Gallen-esque. So it's kind of surprising that he was able to generate 6 strikeouts, because those guys weren't swinging through those strikes. So I guess it was a lot of strikeout looking for Zac Gallen in this game, which he can do because he is that nasty of a pitcher. But am concerned with the velo going down. Am a little concerned with the command as well, because the 3 walks I thought in that first game against the Colorado Rockies, I did think he looked a little bit shaky. Much improved in this game against the New York Yankees. I mean, still, you'll take the box score stat line. 6 innings, no earned runs, 6 strikeouts. But still, there's another level that Zac Gallen can tap into. And of course, going forward, This is someone that still, we're not that far removed from spring training. Even though he threw 95 pitches today, only 56 were strikes. He's still someone that we're still ramping up from spring training in the offseason. And so as the season progresses, Zac Gallen should only get that much better. Last season, first half, Zac Gallen was dominant. He slowed down in the second half in a big way. Maybe this season, he tries to ramp up as the season progresses and then really start to peak as that second half entering the postseason starts to hit. So we'll be monitoring Zac Gallen and how he progresses throughout the year because this is only the beginning for him. Even though he's looked shaky through two starts, 0.82 ERA with 11 innings pitched. Zac Gallen, 1 earned run, has looked dominant so far to start the year. Then some other highlights from this game. Blaze Alexander just continues to look really good at the plate. This is someone that we were really high on exiting spring training because he was the D-backs best player this spring. With injuries in the lineup, Blaze is getting an opportunity and he is starting games. Started number 2 with Corbin Carroll getting the day off, and he had 2 more hits. Got a hit in the first inning that led to an RBI, and just really good stuff by him. He's not doing too much at the plate. He's not up at the plate trying to crank home runs or, trying to pull it down the line. Like, he just really fluid hitter, fluid swing, just taking what the pitchers are giving him and not trying to do too much with it. So love what we've seen from Blaze Alexander to start the year. Hoping to see a little bit more defense and athleticism going forward because he definitely flashed some leather. But we haven't exactly seen a ton of speed just yet. I mean, if he's called Blaze, we want to see him running on the base fast. So hopefully we get to see a little bit more of that in the future. Ketel Marte, he continues just to crank it at the plate. Still waiting for an extra. Well, we got the first extra base hit from Ketel Marte tonight, and we are still waiting for the first home run from Ketel Marte this season. Nice to see him get the first extra base hit with a double, but we could use a few more of that. Finally, good to see his slugging percentage be different than his batting average because he has not provided any power, any extra base hits before this game, before tonight. So good to see him add double, average 375, but the slugging now 417 with a 414 OBP. Really, really good start at the plate for Ketel Marte. Huge Christian Walker bomb in this game. It was late in the game. It was kind of the dagger shot, too. You could say 7th inning with the D-backs up 3 runs. Christian Walker absolutely moonshot 424 feet. Christian Walker is so strong, and he showed you once again that the D-backs have to get an offer together because Christian Walker is going to be in line for another monster season, most likely from the home runs and from playing elite defense. Christian Walker, a pending free agent, want to know what the D-backs are going to offer him because he's been so good for the team the last couple of years. His home run would have been a home run in all 30 ballparks, 424 feet, as I said, and a 108 exit velocity. Absolutely crushed by Christian. The bottom of the lineup, love the fact that they're putting in work. Jake McCarthy and Perdomo, 2 hits apiece. Then how about the bullpen? Scott McGough has been really good to start the year. He had a good spring training. Always nervous when Scott McGough is pitching, but so far this season, he's looked really good. Ryan Thompson, elite setup man. Love to see him in the 8th. And then Bryce Jarvis with a big 6-run lead. He got to go out there and pitch. He looked good. Great job by the D-backs in game 2 to have a big bounce back. We knew with Ryan Nelson on the mound in game 1, it could get out of hands, and it did get out of hands, right? But we knew entering game 2, it was going to be the real test for the D-backs because with your best pitcher on the mound, if you could do that once again to Zac Gallen, then maybe it was all a fluke against the Colorado Rockies. But the D-backs showed you tonight they are a legit team. Yes, it's early. We're not going to make big proclamations, but the D-backs, once again, showing you when they have their best pitchers on the mound, when their lineup is locked in, they can battle with just about anyone, and it's going to be a big reason why the D-backs are going to be one of the teams standing and in the mix for World Series at the end of the season. Now we'll talk about what the D-backs need to do if they want to get a victory against Carlos Rodon in game 3. But if you want to go to the game, then the best place to purchase tickets is, of course, Game Time, because Game Time is the best place for last minute ticket deals. The only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. See the view from your seat on your phone before you buy. All in pricing shows your total cost up front. Buy tickets in seconds with 2 taps. So many ways to save money on tickets no matter when you buy. Last minute tickets on deals right up to the start of the event, and even an after it starts, even an hour after it starts. Exclusive flash deals and sponsored deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. The reason why I love it is because they also have these zone deals, which save you even more money. Game Time picks the section and seats, and we get the big time savings. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. For a limited time, all users can get 20% off any MLB purchase of $150 or more in the Game Time app with code FIRSTPITCH. Terms apply. That's code FIRSTPITCH for $20 off from March 25th to April 14th. Only download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right. Let's get back into the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast. And let's talk about what the D-backs need to do in game number 3 if they want to get a big win against Carlos Rodon, because we got the rubber match, of course, Merrill Kelly versus Carlos Rodon. Big matchup for both of these teams. Merrill Kelly already, again, only one start, and again against the Colorado Rockies, so we'll take a grain of salt. But Merrill Kelly already off to a good start on the season. D-backs number 2 starter, legit number 2 starter, and another chance for, East Coast fans to see Merrill Kelly. There's not enough people on the East Coast that know how good Merrill Kelly is. So with a dominant start against the New York Yankees, Merrill Kelly can once again grow his clout and his exposure in the game, and once again show everyone why he's one of the best number 2 pitchers in the sport. One of my bold predictions entering the year, Merrill Kelly will finish top 8 in Cy Young voting in the National League. I think this could be one of those starts that helps that case, because you just don't face big profile teams on the East Coast like this. The Yankees haven't been to Chase Field since 2019, so doing it against them, I think, would be major for his award case down the line, of course, later in the season. Last year, Merrill Kelly against the Yankees, 5 innings pitched, 2 earned runs. And then Carlos Rodon against the D-backs. He, of course, is someone with a ton of experience against the D-backs because he was in the NL West with the San Francisco Giants, of course. But surprisingly, the numbers are kind of weird for Carlos Rodon against the D-backs, because the peripherals tell you he hasn't been good. 27 innings pitched, 5 starts against the D-backs. He has like a 5.53 ERA. He's given up like 19 earned runs. Like, the damage is there. But then when you look at like batting average against and OPS, like a 200, below a 200 average against Rodon as a team, the OPS is like below 600. Like, the numbers tell you Rodon strikes out the D-backs a ton. He doesn't give up extra base hits. He doesn't really give up hits in general. Like, he does kind of everything in terms of the 3 true outcomes in a good way. He lots of strikeouts, doesn't give up a lot of walks, doesn't give up a lot of power, but yet you look at the damage done against Rodon, a lot of earned runs allowed. So D-backs do a great job of really playing small ball against Rodon. I think that's something that they have to do against him in game 3, because the one thing that they've struggled to do is not create outs on the bases. We saw it with Jake McCarthy tonight and stuff in the first game as well. The D-backs are getting way too aggressive. Well, I don't even think they're getting way too aggressive at times. Maybe the Jake McCarthy play was. I thought Corbin Carroll was safe, right, in game 1. The D-backs are going to be an aggressive team on the base pass. I think they should be, but they need to be a smart team on the base pass. We saw the Yankees throwing the ball around a little bit in this game too. And so when the Yankees defense is doing that, that's when you have to be smart. Sometimes you have to be patient on the base pass, because the Yankees were giving you opportunities in game number 2. So hopefully in game 3, the D-backs can once again take those opportunities and then also manufacture a few of their own. Also, you need to attack Carlos Rodon early in this game. And when I say early, I don't just mean early in the game. I also mean early in the pitch count, because Carlos Rodon, when you look at his career, struggles that first pitch. 339 average, 942 OPS on the first pitch he throws of a ball game. For some reason, he just does not do well on that first pitch. So I think you want to swing early and often against Carlos Rodon, who is, of course, trying to strike you out. He's going to throw strikes. That is his calling card. So because he's going to throw strikes, a lot of the pitches are going to be over the middle of the plate. So he's someone that you might need to be a little bit more aggressive against. The Dbacks are a team that is great when it comes to patience, but maybe against Carlos Rodon, you want to be a little bit more aggressive in that count and attack earlier than usual. Yesterday, we said you had to slow down Juan Soto and Aaron Judge, right, on the podcast. Always easier said than done. I mean, whenever, it sounds really stupid and obvious, I'm obviously saying on the podcast, hey, just shut down the two best superstars that no one can do, right? That's not a real analysis saying just shut down the Sotos and Judges of the world, but sometimes it's the way you do it. Sometimes shutting down two players could be, just letting them walk every time and actually putting them on base. For Zac Gallen in this game, shutting them down was actually attacking Juan Soto and Aaron Judge, and he did a great job of that. Continue to attack them if you're Merrill Kelly in game 3, but the people you need to slow down are going to be the people at the bottom of the lineup, the Volpes and the Cabreras. We've done the Sotos and Judges. Now let's move to the bottom of the lineup, because those are the next pair of teammates that scare me the most in this Yankees lineup. They've been good all season long. You look at the stat line or the slash line for those two guys. I mean, for Volpe, it's 529, 619, 882. For Cabrera, it's 409, 458, 727. Those guys are playing better than the Sotos and Judges. So you've already did a good job of limiting the Sotos and Judges in game 2. Continue to attack and try to get those guys out. Don't just put them on base, attack the strike zone and actually make them work. And then with the Volpes and Cabreras, make sure you do your best to limit their damage, because they have been putting in work at the bottom of your lineup. And if they put in work and then all of a sudden you get back to the top with the Glabers, the Sotos, and Judges, that's how you run into trouble. So make sure you limit the bottom of the lineup if you're Merrill Kelly. Then the final thing that I want to see against Carlos Rodon is we need to see Ketel Marte get going. Not on the season, but against Carlos Rodon, because Marte has the most at-bats of anyone on this team against Rodon. 15 at-bats, but he only has one hit in his career, one double against Carlos Rodon. So he needs to get going against a guy he's seen a ton in his career. And then one guy that we need to keep it going is Christian Walker, who does have good success against Carlos Rodon, because he has a 903 OPS and 11 at-bats against Rodon, because he has a home run. He has 3 hits total, 4 RBIs. He's put in some solid work against Rodon, couple walks as well. So we need Marte to get going against Rodon. We need Christian Walker to keep it going against Rodon. But on the day, the D-backs have seen Rodon a good amount in their past. They've done damage against Rodon before, and I think they've been able to do it via the small ball, because the strikeouts and the overall hitting against Rodon has not been productive, but they've still been able to put a ton of runs against him. So we're going to need to see the small ball D-backs that we saw all 2023, maybe manufacture a few runs, be aggressive early in the counts, and let's get chaotic and create havoc on the bases, but be smart. Have a high IQ, and don't get thrown out trying to steal a base. Now we'll talk about the Corbin Carroll struggles coming up in segment number 3, and we'll shine a light on some of the numbers. But before we get into those struggles, if you want to do a little Corbin Carroll pick for fantasy and win some money, the best place to do that, of course, is going to be Prize Picks, because spring training is over and baseball season is officially underway. Don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the Diamond in your Prize Picks entries, whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs. Take your pick of more or less and add them to your Prize Pick entry today. Get in on the playoff action and win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks as you and the world's best players take the game to a new level during basketball's postseason. I love Prize Picks because I love picking LeBron or Corbin Carroll to do their job when it comes to hitting jump shots or getting singles and stealing bases, because when I parlay those two together and I get my picks in, I end up winning money. And if you want to win money, download the app today and use code Locked On MLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, download the app today and use code Locked On MLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize picks, pick more, pick less. It's that easy. All right. Let's get back into the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast and let's discuss Corbin Carroll and his slow start to the season, because we are not going to harp on it too much. Of course, it's a very, very small sample size for Corbin. He only has a 176 average, 391 OBP, and 176 slugging. He is starting out the gate slow. It's a big reason he got a day off in game 2, because why not let him get a little mental refresh? Why not? Guys like Blaze Alexander are stepping up. Jorge Barroso went 0 for 4, but I thought he swung a really good bat in game 2, made some good contact, and just got a little bit unlucky in a couple of plate appearances. So I think the Dbacks can hold down the fort while Corbin Carroll readjusts and gets back to what we saw last year, because could the league be adjusting to Corbin Carroll? I think it's too early to say that he's entering a sophomore slump or this is how it's going to be the rest of the year. Maybe expect a down year because of the scouting report now on Corbin Carroll. I don't think we're at that place just yet. I still think it's too early in the season to just assume all these pitchers now have a book out on Corbin Carroll. Of course, after the last couple of years, there is a larger sample size of what Corbin Carroll likes to do, his strengths and weaknesses. But at the end of the day, Corbin Carroll is a freaking superstar and he's going to figure it out at the plate. But in the meantime, why not talk about some numbers that's going on during his current struggles to start the year? Corbin Carroll has a 391 OBP. He's been elite at least getting on base this year, but he has not done it via the hit because he's only 3 for 17 on the year in terms of base hits. So he's getting on at least. And with the speed Corbin Carroll has, we love the fact that he's getting on almost 40% of the time, but he needs to also drive in runs. And when you're 3 for 17, it's hard to drive in runs. That's why he has 0 RBIs on the year, has not come through runner's scoring position, does not have any home runs. That's why his slugging is the same as his batting average. We have not seen the power from Corbin Carroll this year, and we have not seen him drive any runs in because of it. And the other weird thing is Corbin Carroll, this is a guy that typically has struggled against lefties throughout his career. When you looked at his splits, you're like, Corbin Carroll's a superstar. But if he can get better against left-handed pitching, I mean, if he's already a superstar, maybe he was a star last year, he could go to another level if he can get better against lefties. Like maybe he was a superstar, but if he wants to go to God tier, that Round Acuna, Aaron Judge tier, then you have to get better against lefties, and that's something he wasn't doing last year. So far to start 2024, it's righties that are giving Corbin Carroll the biggest trouble. Carroll is only 1 for 12 on the season against right-handed pitching, which is just something you wouldn't expect. It's one of those numbers where I'm just like, that just can't hold up the rest of the season. It's one of those numbers where I'm like, once we get a larger sample size, if that still holds up, then I'll be concerned. But as it currently stands, I just don't think we've seen enough games for us to even be worried about Corbin Carroll only being 1 for 12 against right-handed pitching. But it's at least something to monitor until he turns it around. I think the biggest issue from what I've seen from Corbin Carroll so far is he just hasn't really been lifting the ball. We talked about Alec Thomas yesterday, his ground ball rate being over 70%, how he hasn't really been able to lift the ball this season, why he has been hitting into so many double plays is because he's just not lifting the ball. The same with Corbin Carroll. He has not really been lifting the ball either. His ground ball rate so far this season, 62.5%. And the craziest part, when you look at his fly ball rate, considered 0%. He does not have anything that has been considered a fly ball this year, which is insane. Through a handful of games, usually players at least have a pop fly to the infield or fly out something. Not Corbin Carroll. He is quite literally not lifting the ball at all right now. We know he's a tiny man, but he should be able to lift the ball. We know he has a flat swing, so maybe he needs to add a little bit of that more upward trajectory to get the ball up in the air a little bit more, and maybe it would lead to some over the fence power. Like we've talked about with his OBP, his plate discipline has been really good so far this year. Only one strikeout on the season so far with Corbin Carroll. And I think the reason why the one strikeout is so impressive is because he's not getting the hits. He's not coming through when you want him to come through in the clutch or whatever. And because he's not getting the strikeouts, he's at least showing you that he's seeing the ball. He's swinging at the ball. He's not just there getting fooled every time. He's not chasing pitches out the strike zone. He's not swinging at high heat. He's not chasing at balls in the dirt. Like, he's making contact and he's just not lifting it right now. And that's the biggest thing. He's seeing the ball. He's getting on base. He's not striking out. The bat is just not lining up where it needs to be. The sweet spot right now in StatCast is not where it needs to be. The barrel percentage, like, Corbin Carroll just needs to get the ball more on the face head of the bat. And if he does that, I think everything will change. I think it's why the power hasn't been there. I think it's why the average hasn't been there. He's not striking out. He's seeing the ball well. He's getting on base. He just hasn't produced anything from an offensive standpoint. And I think once he starts getting his timing down a little bit more and start getting that sweet spot on the ball, I think Corbin Carroll's season will start to turn around. So still a super small sample size for Corbin Carroll. We're not concerned just yet, but we will monitor it going forward. Now, that's it for this edition of the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast. Come back tomorrow for more Diamondbacks news coverage and insight. And as always, stay safe, stay healthy. Deuces.